On First Down, you'll hear interviews with some of the top minds in sports, as well as actionable tips and strategies you can implement into your daily life to become a more effective coach. My name is Justin Tichinell, former college football player turned entrepreneur. Thanks for spending time with me today. Now, let's jump into the content. Coach Gonzales, he is the director of athletic performance of Bowling Green School, which is down in Louisiana. So
Right.
To kick things off, Coach, can you just share with the audience a little bit about your background and how you've gotten into your current role?
Yeah. Look, it seems like it's been a long road in a short time. So I'm 40. I played college football down here in Louisiana at Southeastern Louisiana. I played for everybody knows Hal Mummy. He was my head coach and still a good friend. And got into coaching after you know just playing ball and wanting to spread the wealth, I guess, spread the knowledge that I had picked up from guys along the way, and started as a young coach. Really was kind of a volunteer and worked my way into a more full-time position, and had some really good guys around me who saw some things in me. It gave me a coordinator role as I think I was a 26-year-old, 25-year-old kid, and got a 5A high school coordinator role down here in Louisiana. 5A is the biggest that we play, and so it was a pretty big deal. And then did well. I mean, we had some success, and people came calling. Ended up the head coach of a small private school down here, played 2A level. Again, took a 3-7 team and went 7-5 quarterfinals of the playoffs. Got a phone call from a bigger program over here in Mandeville, Louisiana, which is a pretty prestigious program in this area, and a big school. Had some success there, and I think when you stay at some place 4 or 5 years and at the high school level, and you get new administration in and things change, so some changes took place there, and ended up at Live Oak, and which is really far from my house. And then had a really fun year there. It was a good year, great people, great institution, but just needed. I have a young family. I have a 2-year-old son, I have an 11-year-old son, I have a 13-year-old daughter, and I like to be extremely involved as a parent and as a dad. I coach their sports as well, so I'm a baseball coach and a basketball coach and whatever coach I have to be. And so just recently took a job as the director of athletic performance at a small private school by my house, Bowling Green School. It is a K through 12 school, which presents a completely different set of circumstances for me as a coach. I am now in charge of strength and conditioning, or speed and strength, for 5th graders through 12th graders,
Wow.
male and female, for all sports, which I love. I have a strength conditioning background, but also assist with football, and I'll assist with junior high baseball as well, which has been really pretty rewarding to get those young kids in there and start gearing them towards and making them understand how important that process is in being successful as an athlete. So
Definitely.
yeah.
And for a lot of the coaches out there, they're in similar situations as you are, like younger coaches who have younger families and, juggling a lot of different things. So what advice would you give for the audience for guys that are maybe trying to find that perfect balance between, family life, school, and also, just being a husband too?
Yeah, and I think that when I was younger, I thought um, I was good enough to balance it. Okay, and you want to believe that you can multitask. Everybody wants to think that, and maybe like I can pour my heart and soul into this football program that I'm running. And when you get to the 5A level around here, you're really more CEO than a football coach than anything. I mean, I was handling hundreds of $1,000 budgets and dealing with all kinds of things. It had to, so you think that you can pour your heart and soul into and building that culture, and still, carve out enough time for your family and do that the right way. And then you realize pretty quickly that's extremely difficult. And I think that if you're really, really going to be incredibly successful at one thing or the other, one of them is going to get more attention than the other. Being young enough to realize that in my life right now, what's more important to me was being a dad and being a husband and taking care of my family first. I felt like the prestige that came with a 5A head coaching position, which there was a lot, and the attention and all the the glory at the highs and the lows, they were taking away from what I could do as a husband and a father. And there's always going to be time to coach, in my opinion. And so, for this point of my life and this stage of my life, I chose my kids, I chose my family. And that doesn't mean that I'm not pouring everything I have into what we're doing as a program at Bowling Green. I just didn't think that at the level I was at that time, it was conducive to me trying to be a dad, a great husband, and a great coach. So
Definitely.
balance, I think, sometimes is an illusion. I think it can be done successfully, but I don't want to be the guy who wakes up one day and goes, "Man, I missed everything because I was so busy coaching other people's kids."
Right. And that's the thing too, is you just have to find like what are your priorities in life? And it's like you were just saying, like in the season you are right now, like you have a young family and you have to be able to focus on that. So that 100% makes sense, and that doesn't take away from what you're doing on the field. You're still pouring everything out, and I think that's a sentiment that especially the younger guys that are listening now can really attest to, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, as a former like 5A like big time head coach, can you talk about some of the challenges and also some of the successes that you had in those roles?
Yeah, I think look, every place is different, and in Louisiana we have a very unique culture, football wise. I mean, anybody who knows anything about it knows that some great high school football is played in Louisiana. I think we have more NFL athletes per capita and than any other state or whatever the stats they like to throw out are. There's some really high level football played here. There's some phenomenal coaching talent in this state, and so you have to be on your game. I think some of the difficulties that you face are coaching at some of those lower levels. You become, when people say like you're the coach and now you're the field maintenance guy and you're the janitor and you're the counselor and you're the bus driver and you're the all those things, right? That's true. And then the further you move up in those levels, depending where you are, you really become more of a delegator and a CEO. And you walk into a coaching interview after being at one of those places, and you walk into a smaller place and you sit down with how you ran your 5A program, and you got this binder that's as tall as some of the children that you're going to be coaching, and you have this just ridiculous amount of I guess anecdotal experience and just like you've been there, you've seen this, you've done that, and all these things have happened, and people are like, wow, this is what it takes to run a 5A program, because you don't really get to coach football anymore. Like I said, you become a CEO and you're managing huge budgets and you're delegating responsibilities to 18 assistant coaches and you're managing 120 kids and roughly 240 parents and facilities and game day operations. It becomes a lot, and it can spread you thin. But the success comes from, I think, managing all those things properly and being able to delegate those responsibilities. And guys who find that kind of balance in their work life do I think they do the best job.
Yeah, and I was just talking with a friend of mine, Coach Opkin North. He used to coach at Oberlin College in Ohio, and now he just moved back to Green Bay. And one of the things that he was talking about was just being a master communicator, as like that's one of the main needs you need to have as a coach, and especially as you climb the ranks. From what it sounds like at your level and from your experience, that that's one of the main things is you have to know how to not only like know the X's and O's, but know how to properly communicate not only with your with your fellow coaches, but with your kids, with the parents of those kids, and with maybe like the board. So can
Yeah,
you talk
board
more about
and
that too?
yeah, I mean, look, I've been blessed to have pretty phenomenal administration everywhere I've been, right? So as a high school coach, you're not just dealing with it's not like your bosses. I mean, you're talking about an administrative staff that's running a school, and their priorities a lot of times are not the same as yours. I'd wake up every day and go to work, and it's like, all right, I'm going to get in the field house. I'm going to get my own personal lift ins because I want to stay in as best physical shape I can so that I can run around with these 120 kids and they don't think I'm some old man who can't do it anymore. Right. And then you're dealing with your strength coach and you're sitting down and making sure you have that planned out. And then at some point you're an educator as well. So I'm putting in grades in the computer. I'm making sure that reports that have to be done on students are done. I'm having to go to the office at least 2 or 3 times a week to make sure everybody up there sees my face, and I'm communicating with my administrative staff, and that we're on the same page, because ultimately they're running a school, and everything that I'm doing is just an entity of what ultimately they're trying to make sure their school is successful. And you don't want to be a liability, something that they have to worry about on their end because you're not doing things the right way. So really answering to the powers that be in your own school and then at your school board, and then just making sure. Look, I mean, I don't think that everybody who coaches is terribly concerned about public perception, but I think that if you're not at least aware of public perception, then you can't be the guy who says, I don't care what people think anymore. Because I mean, just like this, I mean, we're sitting here doing this, and how many people are going to see this, and social media and people's opinions. And you can not care about people's opinions as much as you want, but at the end of the day, you know, everybody has this gigantic platform to get out there and post or say whatever they want. So
Yeah,
you have to at least be conscious of the perception, because in the public's eyes, perception is reality. you know
exactly. And for me, I have a little bit of a unique story where when I graduated college, like I always knew I wanted to be involved in the game. And as a senior, I started this company which helps with like player grading and just keeping those things organized.
Mhm.
And I found that out exactly what you were saying is just, the perception in the public is so important from my own platform, not necessarily from coaching per se, but it from what I've heard from just these conversations, and then um also for me coaching like at a youth level too, I found too like that's even relevant at that level as well.
Yeah, maybe even more relevant when you're talking about, look, that's a competitive world, right? So I coach, my son is a pretty accomplished little 11-year-old athlete, as accomplished as an 11-year-old can be. But in this day and age, that could be as accomplished as anybody, right? It could be a YouTube star if he wanted to be.
Yeah.
So, you know, uh, he um, he plays majors level baseball, and I coach his little team, and we play for a large organization in the area, and really it's kind of regionally large now. It's the Knights organization, and it's big, and we're their kind of their youth like little flagship team. And man, public perception at the 11-year-old baseball level is tremendous. I mean, it's a
Oh yeah.
competition to see who can get the best kids. And if you have the best kids, then you attract the best kids. And if you play in the best tournaments and you're consistently playing at Lake Point and seeing the PG stuff, and it's like, man, when I was 11 years old, I was just out there at the ballpark running around playing with my buddies on the field that nobody was occupying. And these dudes are playing high level baseball.
Oh
it,
yeah.
it just amazes me. We're going 3 days after Christmas to San Antonio with my son, who plays for and it sounds ridiculous, but he plays for a world championship flag football team. We
Wow.
went to a world championship in Tampa, Florida last year, where there was hundreds of teams in their age group, and they won the whole thing. So, I mean, they're sponsored by Game Changer, the app that you put on your phone and keep score with. They pay for all their stuff. I mean, they're 11 years old. It's almost not reality.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Totally.
ridiculous.
Totally.
Mhm.
So
So,
yeah, so before we hop off here, coach, any last words you want to share with the audience?
yeah, man, look, I just, I try to tell everybody, you know, and I recently had to make a pretty extensive social media post talking about why I was leaving my current position or my former position and going to my current position and talking about my family and things like that. Just, I think that you get wrapped up in, or maybe you tie your identity into what you do, right? Especially as a coach, because I walk in the gas station at 5 o'clock every morning and they don't even know my name. They just call me coach,
Mm,
right? They got my coffee made. They already know my order. I'm at the same spot at the same time every day because I'm very routine oriented, right? And they don't even know my name. It's just coach. And when coach becomes your identity, and you kind of become wrapped up in that, and who that becomes who you are, you can kind of lose sight of all the other things, And I think that, like you said, at this season of my life, I am coach, and I'm going to be coach for the rest of my life, I'm sure. I'm coach to people from 20 years ago, and I'll be coach to people 20 years from now. But I don't want that to be my identity. I am a coach, and it's what I do, it's what I love, it's my passion, and it probably always will be. But at the end of the day, I have to identify as something more than that if I want to be successful at this. And I think that the kids that I coach can sense that about me. And I think that's what's important, giving that to them, letting them see me as a human being and not just this, just coach. I would say for all the young guys out there, don't lose yourself in what you do. Definitely define yourself in some other role and make sure that everybody knows who you are as a man first, or as a woman, and be that first, and then let coach be secondary to that.
yes, sir. Well, coach, thank you very much for coming on today. And it really was a pleasure talking with you.
Absolutely. I appreciate it.